host. Very happy to host this webinar. So first, I'm going to introduce myself. So as Lynn said, I'm Jean-Marc. I'm working at Checkoutcom now for 3 years as a country and general manager in France. So I'm very happy to be the Checkouts host today to drive you through who we are and what we are doing in the crypto space, along with my colleagues, Avishkar, working as a crypto partnerships director, and Muna, working as a people acquisition associate. So as a short intro, I think it would be good to first introduce our company and let you understand a bit more who we are. So Checkout.com is a company which enables businesses and their communities to thrive in the digital economy. So the first question that may come to your mind could be, what does it mean, or how is Checkout actually doing this? Well, the thing is that we're providing businesses with a payment solution, allowing them to process transactions across the globe with one single API integration. As you may know, we have now in the company more than 2,000 people in 19 offices around the world, and have announced some weeks ago our Series D of $1 billion, which will allow to focus on 3 main things. The first one being our expansion in the US, where we already had an office in San Francisco, and now in New York, Chicago, and other main cities. The second main focus will be on our product, as we are putting efforts to serve more merchants with specific needs, so answering with specific products, such as our marketplace product, for instance, but also others beyond what is called acquiring, meaning receiving money on behalf of our merchants prior settling them the money on their accounts. And last but not least, in terms of focus, crypto, which is a vertical we are already addressing, and where we do have a strong will to develop and, of course, help our merchants in the Web3 space that everyone is talking about now. So on this topic, I will go first to you, Avishkar. So I will say Ash, we know each other. So I will maybe let you introduce yourself first, and maybe answer just after that a first question, which is like, how does Checkout.com today fit into the crypto story?
Thanks, Jean-Marc, and hi everyone. Absolute, excuse me, absolute pleasure to be here, and excited to talk about this topic. My girlfriend and my mum and dad are not nearly as interested, so it's good to have an audience that might be interested in what I'm saying. So I kind of work and lead the crypto partnerships business at Checkout globally, where and kind of coming to your question, Jean-Marc, about how does Checkout fit into the crypto story. Think of us as underlying infrastructure, everyone, in payments. We're payment services providers, and we help, and the simplest way to think about it is we help people get money on and off this ecosystem. We're kind of like a bridge, and we're a bridge because we're regulated with fiat currency enabling functionalities, but we also help provide solutions within the market that enable you either buy crypto, so we service the likes of the wallets, exchanges in the market, the names of Binance, Crypto.com, and then also we help with functionality around, say you want to have crypto liquidated if you make some profits and you want to have that paid out into your card or your Visa or MasterCard, or you want to have it paid into a bank account. So where we fit is we're a regulated payment service provider. We support a lot of the ecosystem and a lot of the trends that we'll talk about later today around NFTs, and gaming is another space that we also help service. But think of us as a payments provider that enables this ecosystem to bridge cryptocurrencies and fiat money. In terms of kind of, where we fit as well, we're seeing a lot of appetite. I mean, 76% of our merchants are considering the acceptance of crypto. So there are a lot of trends to come through that we'll talk about today around the form factors of cryptocurrency, how that impacts us every day as consumers and businesses, and what does that mean for our day-to-day lives when we participate in commerce or when we have a proposition. And so, you know, from that front, Checkout is not only been an early provider of this industry, you know, we definitely were very supportive of the crypto industry early on and will continue to be. But what we're looking to do as well is specialize, and we're looking to grow our workforce, which is going to, again, I think, taper into where we're going to trail. But in terms of what we do, we have dedicated crypto functionality from a whole business perspective, whether that's partnerships, account management, strategy, product. You know, within Checkout, our business, we have people that specialize in crypto and payments, and that's kind of where our business sits within the ecosystem.
All right. Yeah. Please,
I was going to hand it back to you, Jean.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Ash, for this introduction. I think it's very useful to understand how we stand in the space today. So I'm gonna also go to you, Muna, to understand and maybe to explain how can people, you know, get into crypto today, and how we are also managing this at Checkout.com.
Yeah, no, definitely. And thank you for having me, BYP. Super excited to have this discussion today. So I think the one advantage with crypto is that it's a super new space. So very few people have specialized in the area as of yet, and especially over a number of years. So it's something that we definitely take into consideration when kicking off these searches as well. So we're always speaking to the hiring managers about how else can we get the talent in the door without them having crypto specific experience. So I think the advantage here is that you have more of an opportunity to showcase your softer skills as opposed to your more technical experience. So I think hiring managers more than anything are looking for that real eagerness to learn and that curiosity, that, you know, that passion. So I think showcasing those skills very early on in the process will always be in your kind of advantage, or to your advantage. And I think typically the kind of profiles we do look at are, you know, outside of the crypto and payments world, are people from like financial services background. But again, not an absolute deal breaker. I think the main skills are the more softer skills. So someone that can just demonstrate that willingness to learn. And what we found is that people who are really passionate about crypto and blockchain, more often than not can get up to speed really quickly, sort of like regardless of their background. Because that passion sort of just shines through, and fundamentally is the most important thing for anyone to sort of learn the space. But I think everyone's got the advantage of it being a very, very new space and not having very kind of specialized backgrounds or people. So I think people can definitely sort of, use that to their advantage, and just, feel free to go ahead and apply for anything that doesn't necessarily look like it's within your area, specifically within the crypto and blockchain area.
So I was saying that we are almost like 2000 at Checkout.com. Can you walk us through the growth that we had in terms of people at Checkout so far and over the past year?
Yeah, so it's been a super, super busy year, 2021. We definitely weren't quiet in the TA team. We hired over 850 people, I believe, just last year alone. So super, super hyper growth. And in terms of kind of the departments and locations specifically, I don't think there has been any specific necessarily teams. Naturally, it will be like commercial and tech. So, we can strengthen our product offering and then commercial to expand into new markets. But I think most of the functions in the company have experienced some sort of growth naturally off the back of the company's growth. So we've hired pretty much across all functions. We've really strengthened like our commercial, same with finance, same with the tech team. So I would say that there's been a lot of hires, but there's an opportunity for anyone within any department, any function you can think of, specifically within Checkout, because all areas definitely need to be a little bit more fine-tuned. But in terms of that linking directly to crypto itself, so we have a lot of plans to build a dedicated sales team, dedicated customer success team, partnership and enablement team, just to really be able to service our crypto merchants in kind of the best way possible. So, and we luckily have Ash, who's a hiring manager. So we were able to get a little bit of a profile from him and what he typically looks like. And Ash was able to tell me that, generally he's always looking for attitudes, certain attitudes, more than kind of hard skills, because again, there's not a lot of crypto or blockchain people in the market. So Ash is always on the lookout for people that just demonstrate that keenness to learn.
All right. And apart from crypto, like, what's the focus for 2022? Like, what does recruitment look like?
Yeah, so there's, again, I don't think we're going to be slowing down this year. We have another 1,000 hires by the end of the year to do, or forecasted. Again, it will be generally spread across the kind of business. I think there will be a particular focus, again, naturally on commercial and tech. But in terms of location-wise, we're definitely going to be focused a lot more in the US, where we haven't had as much of a presence. So we'll be building out the US presence quite a lot as a business, and naturally we'll need the talent to be able to do that. So a lot of hiring you'll see, or a lot of positions you'll see in the US entities at the moment. I think overall, globally, we have about 385 hires, or open positions at the moment. And then of those, 195 are based in London or something along those lines. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of hiring predominantly going to be done in London, but a lot of it is also going to be sort of globally focused as well.
Okay, and on those like based in London, and maybe for our audience here today, either like any specificities or like kind of type of jobs in particular that we are looking for?
I mean, specifically to crypto at the moment, shameless plug, we have a content marketing position, a crypto partnerships manager position, and 2 customer success manager positions within kind of the crypto space, if that's specifically what you're looking for. So I definitely encourage you to apply if you have the relevant experience in any industry within that sort of area. And then across kind of globally, like I said, yeah, we have about 385 positions. I don't know what the specifics are in terms of sort of the ratio split within departments, but I'd like to think that there's, you know, something for everyone in each department, because the company is growing and we need to be supported in each function.
And maybe it's a question that you know, some of the people here are asking themselves, but like, do people need like previous experience in tech, for instance, to work with us?
No, definitely not, and I definitely want to debunk the myth. I personally didn't have any tech experience before I came into tech, so I'm, you know, your first example. But I can, you know, rest assured that when I'm speaking to candidates on a day-to-day basis, I'm not really necessarily taking in their background as much. Obviously, it's an important portion of the conversation that you're having, but it is definitely more about the person you have in front of you, what's their attitude, what things that they're looking for, what things drive them. I think these softer skills are the things that are going to really make you stand out in the tech world versus necessarily your technical experience. So I think just having that courage to just apply anyway. You know, if you are a little bit more nervous about not having, you know, more like a tech background, there are plenty of like free resources that you can utilize online. There are, you know, coding boot camps, or there's like fintech courses if you really want to familiarize yourself in the space and, you know, be really sort of well versed in the interviews. Yeah, there's plenty of resources to use online, but definitely not something that you need. And I would encourage people to apply regardless, because I did. And yeah, here I am.
Okay, so various profiles then. Okay, and maybe a last question is much more about like the recruitment process. Like, what does it look like? What's the different steps, you know, that we are having? Maybe you can walk us through that also.
Yeah, sure. So I want to first say that you know, every process looks different depending on what function or like what team or what level of seniority you're recruiting for. But generally, it tends to look like you'll have a conversation with a recruiter at the first stage, who will go through your motivations to understand a little bit more about what you're looking for, also to give you a good overview of the company and what we do. And then typically the next stage would be like a hiring manager, just again, so you can ask like job specific questions, understand a little bit more about the team and the position itself. And then the third stage would normally be with like either stakeholders, so like key stakeholders you'd be working with on a day-to-day. And if there are no like significant key stakeholders, it would typically be maybe like people of the wider finance team or like wider team, just so that you can speak to people that you would be again working closely with. And then the final stage would normally be like a department lead. Yeah, I would say typically a department lead, and then people acquisition again. And people acquisition will just be there to really answer any questions you might have that haven't been answered. And yeah, just to maybe do like one final culture fit assessment, but nothing too crazy. And then we normally wrap up the process there.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot, Muna. So I see we do already have some questions about the core topic. I would say there is maybe one question I will also ask to you, Muna, is someone who is asking if we do provide visa sponsorship for opportunities based in the UK.
Yeah, again, I would definitely apply regardless of sort of like right to work status, because we are able to offer sponsorship and relocation allowance or assistance as well. So yeah, definitely urge you to still apply if you don't have the right to work.
Cool. Thanks, Mona. So coming back onto the crypto topic, by speaking to our expert here in the room, Ash, maybe one question would be, if you can walk us through the most significant trends in crypto right now first.
Yeah, definitely. And Jean, Muna, just to say, I'm a right to work employee, not from crypto at Checkout. So if that gives anyone, and I'm in the crypto team, so if that gives the BYP network a sense of our hiring policy, we're definitely open to anyone, as long as the attitude and like Muna said, the soft skills are there. Crypto trends. I mean, I love to position this as kind of, let's look at crypto. Let's look at the blockchain, actually. Let's start with the blockchain, right? And what is the blockchain? The blockchain's an immutable ledger, decentralized, it can't be changed. That's kind of what you call the blockchain. And then you look at L1, L2 services, and L1 services is what we call cryptocurrency, right? L2 services are services built on top of cryptocurrency, so things like gaming, etc. When we take crypto and we look at it, I love to kind of position the trends to begin with the adoption rates. So if you look at how is crypto being adopted today, where are we at? There are lots of ways to measure this. There's lots of ways to look at it. A very good way to look at it is, and history is very hard to have an apple for an apple. But if you look at kind of the way the internet was adopted and the way cryptocurrencies are adopted, the latest 8-year trend, they're on par. We have 40 trillion in fiat out there today, and we have 3 trillion in crypto. We have 200 million users of crypto globally, and that could be more. And if you look at the graph when the internet was being adopted and how cryptocurrencies are being adopted on the blockchain, they're head to head. So if they follow this trend, in the next 2 to 3 years, or even by 2025, 27, we could have 1 billion people using cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies has multiple form factors. And if we break this down, this is where a lot of the trends start to fit into it. So you have cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Bitcoin. What do they represent? They represent a multitude of an exchange of value, or they also represent new technologies. You look at the Solana network and its ability to process something like 65,000 transactions a second. It's nuts, to put it in perspective. Visa does something like 35 or 36,000 transactions. So you've got technology in a currency form that can be processed at an unparamounted speed. And what that means is lots of use cases come out of it. There's innovation with how that then interacts with fiat. So you've got stablecoins, and stablecoins are fiat currency pegged. And what that means is all of a sudden you have use cases and trends like remittance, being able to send money instantly, going against the grain of the current stage of remittance today is you have multiple banking partners and it can take days, and at the cost of the transaction you end up paying as a consumer. With the likes of cryptocurrencies like stablecoins or traditional currencies, whether that's peer-to-peer or through the stablecoin network, you can have instant settlement, instant receipt, and you can have it at a fraction of the price. So that's a use case that starts to come out of the creation of cryptocurrencies. Another thing is, I guess, and obviously there's a market within it, but there is the ability of that to be a perceived value of trade. And what I say and what I mean by that is the rise of crypto neobanks, the rise of getting better value for your money that almost beats inflation. And, instead of having your money in an account and, maybe inflation erodes those savings, it's a new investment vehicle for everyday consumers. Obviously, do your research, but the ability to earn and to invest and to also back technology that can underpin other use cases is what this has become, a brand new wealth vehicle for a lot of people. And through that, you've seen the rise of crypto neobanks. So the ability to get a Visa debit card at a crypto.com exchange to buy some currencies. I use this example because, my dad's the best test, but my dad bought, a few cryptocurrencies recently. He made a little bit. He was able to, transact that profit back onto his Visa card and buy himself a new fishing rod and a new TV, and pay for his groceries. And kind of, it's a kind of a new economy, a new wealth economy. And if you go within your means, there's an ability to generate some extra income whilst you're supporting the initiatives that underpins. Some of the other interesting trends that we're seeing out of this is kind of the buzzword that everyone's probably heard is NFTs and gaming. I'll go into NFTs first because a lot of interest around NFTs and what that means, you know, digital art, smart contracts that are on the blockchain that generates income for artists. It can generate perpetual income for something you've created. That's one element of it. Also, some of it's kind of, you know, it's interesting. It's a little bit clicky. It can be gimmicky. It's okay, if I can't get on a whitelist, mint an NFT, how do I actually make some money on this? And I think when you take the NFT concept, the non-fungible token concept on the blockchain, and start to peel it back a bit and say, okay, what are the use cases for this? You kind of start to look at smart contracts, recurring revenue. You look at actually ownership of an asset, and you look at, you know, things that can be built off the top of it, things like digital identity, things like you not buying a fraudulent product. You know, it's on the blockchain, it's vetable. You are now the official only owner of this. So, you know, you start to protect yourself through the technology that the NFTs provide. And I think ID is another really interesting place. You know, we have so many versions of ourselves across the internet. As we move into Web3, tokenization is a big factor of Web3. NFTs as an ID, that could be such a good space to secure myself, and also give me a better interaction through making payments or through interacting with the new infrastructure. So that's where we see kind of NFTs as a trend. And then I think the metaverse and gaming is something that is still got to be really explored. It's such a buzz area as well, and I get excited. I'm a gamer myself, but the opportunity to, and if you remember what I said earlier around L2 and the ability of gaming studios to build new games on top of cryptocurrencies, it's an ability to actually reward communities that are within games. So you look like Axie Infinity. The rewards are not only just cryptocurrencies that you can get by participating in the community, but then the rewards can also be NFTs, and then you can trade them. And what that's starting to do is foster innovation, not only for it's an ability to earn some extra income. It's an ability to be part of a community. It's ability to build something better and build something that you like. But then also see, you know, it's kind of an ability for one to build interoperability, because there is a lot of demand coming from the gaming industry for people to be able to transfer some of their assets across the blockchain. And what I mean is, it's like if you have a Microsoft game and, you know, something on Xbox, and you have all your skins and all your value trapped there, and you can't transfer it to a PlayStation only game. What the blockchain is doing, and what that's emerging from it, is interoperability between blockchains and the ability to transfer some of that value. And all of a sudden you create a gaming universal profile, and you can operate within multiple games and have increased your net worth if you're a play to earn gamer, or if you're just a ad hoc social gamer like myself. So I think there's, you know, a lot of trends around adoption, a lot of trends around the NFT, the metaverse and gaming, a lot of economies being created, a lot of wealth coming out of it, a lot of day-to-day interactions that are reducing the cost of doing business, and also, you know, making our lives easier and more transparent. But sorry, Jean, I threw a lot in there, so
that's
happy
okay.
to delve a bit further.
I mean, we're talking about trends, you know, so there is not just only one trend. So thanks a lot for this for your view. You were talking in these trends. You were talking about the about stablecoin. Do you think there are some, I would say, like, needed innovations to be done? So as as a payment company, we know that we have a lot of clients and merchants asking, for instance, for stablecoins settlement. What's your view on this?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, right? Because stablecoins is almost the next level of crypto adoption before it becomes crypto adoption. And not that crypto adoption isn't here, but stablecoins is obviously something that we're definitely working through at Checkout. I think everyone may have seen, or if not, happy to circulate off our recent announcement that we've been beta testing and hopefully look to offer it to the ecosystem. It's just a good way for people to have the value, again, pegged to the fiat currency and transacted instantly. And if we can reduce these cost of transactions at checkout for our merchants, and our merchants are the likes of all these e-com giants and crypto players in the market, it hopefully translates back to more value for us as consumers, because either we get quicker services, we get a reduced cost of transaction, and we get certainty. And again, it's on the blockchain, it's secure, it's transactable. So stablecoins is definitely a really good question, Jean-Marc, something that we're working on at Checkout to be able to enable, so that then that filters down to all of us through our merchants or our customers.
All right, thanks. So my understanding, in what you're saying is that with for instance, this this innovation is that it's clearly linked to what I was saying in the introduction, that the way we are doing it also at Checkout.com is, really be supporting our merchants and supporting companies, to and their ecosystem, basically, all their partners to thrive in this digital economy, because I would say, like, we don't really know how will be the future, how will people will pay tomorrow. So we have to ensure that we are able to support our merchants. Thanks a lot, Ash, for all these info and your views on these trends on the crypto topic. I think that maybe, Muna, coming back to you, maybe you would be able to provide us with some resource, and maybe also have a quick update on the partnership that we have with BYP, sorry, and the resources that we have internally at Checkout.
Yeah, no, perfect. So at the moment we have the Black community, which is where a lot of our partnership with BYP comes from at the moment. So I'll just quickly go through the Black community and what that looks like at the moment. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So at the moment we have about 250 members, I believe across spread globally. The BYP, not BYP, sorry, the Black community was created in 2020 by a group of colleagues, specifically Black colleagues, Jean-Marc, you being one of those, who wanted to encourage just more dialogue, specifically after the George Floyd incident. So yeah, Black community is something that we have internally, a resource that is, really useful for us to use to promote this healthy dialogue within the company. And our partnership with BYP, I believe, has been for quite a while. I've only been at the company for about a year, so a lot of the kind of my memory of our partnership dates back to the last year. But I know we've got a lot involved with like webinars. We've also done like Q&As and like interviews, I believe. So yeah, I know that's kind of where our relationship lies at the moment.
Thanks. And talking about the Black community, I think I could answer this question, but I will let you first answer it. But for you, why is there like a need to have the Black community at Checkout, and maybe also in other companies actually?
Yeah, no, I think having a Black community should be something that all companies definitely consider having, not only within Checkout. I think it creates a very safe space for Black employees to speak about things that they're experiencing. There's some things that are very unique to our experience. So things like code switching, imposter syndrome, just generally like your day-to-day. So I think it's really important to have that really safe space to speak. But then I also think it's really important to create allyship across the whole company and have other people also part of that conversation. And there's no other way to do that other than having a Black community where you're inviting people to speak within that space and and their perspective of the situation, or not necessarily situation, but how their experiences, maybe working with Black colleagues and how maybe they can help. So I think it's not only important for Checkout, but I think most companies should consider having a Black community to promote healthy dialogue around D&I and to really drive D&I initiatives.
And so what are the main highlights from the past 12 months, and maybe also if there is like any roadmap for this year for this community?
Yeah, so the last 12 months has been naturally a little bit more difficult with COVID. So a lot of the things that we've had to do have been virtual. But we've had like a lot of like internal social events that are again via Zoom. We also kicked off the Black Community Podcast, which again, Jean-Marc, you're a part of, and we hope to do the season 2 this year. So we've now just recently recreated or like revamped, I guess, the task force, or changed out the task force, you could say. So it will be a new 12 months with a new task force. And one of the first things that we did is create 4 key verticals, which is I believe career, commerce, community, and culture. So we wanted to have a lot more of a holistic approach with the Black community this time, cover all bases. So there'll be a lot of things that we'll be doing, like I said, kicking off the Black Community Podcast for a season 2. We're also working on, partnership with external members like yourself, but then all other job boards as well that we can utilize. And then also, working on internal social events. We also have some mentoring opportunities that we're looking at, pursuing. And then also Checkout at the moment offer 1 volunteering day to each employee within the company. So we're going to find a way to, basically utilize those, but also support the community externally and internally. So we have some really exciting things. We also have Black History Month in the UK in October, which we're really wanting to do quite big this year. So we've already kicked off the planning. So there are some really exciting things that we're going to have over the next 12 months.
Yeah, that's indeed exciting, actually, and big roadmap for this year. Thanks a lot, Muna, and thanks, Ash, for all your feedback and inputs on these different topics. I think that it may be the time, to open the floor to some questions from the audience. I see that we do already have some questions, actually. So I will maybe start with the very last one. Maybe this is one which will be for you, Ash, around the crypto. So are cryptocurrencies and blockchain the same thing for you?
They're not. So think of it as two parts. One part is blockchain is the technology. So it's like a decentralized technology and immutable ledger. And what that means is anytime something happens on the blockchain, it can never be changed again. So it's an ultimate source of truth. And then think of cryptocurrencies as a service. So L1 service is what we call it. L1, L2, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. Cryptocurrencies are an L1 service, so they're built on the blockchain, and that's when you have the likes of Bitcoin being built different to Ethereum, being different to Solana or a Polygon. Hopefully that answers the question, John.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ash. So if any of you have some questions, feel free to jump into the chat, or even take the mic actually to for any questions.
Jean-Marc.
Yeah.
So there was a question directly to me from Zena, which might build off the last question. Happy to answer that if that helps.
Okay.
Her question was just around what are the views on the future of Ethereum? That's a very good question. I think it's something good that everyone should keep an eye out for. I know Ethereum are releasing what they call Ethereum 2 Serenity. So they're doing an upgrade in June, and they're promising more scalability, robustness, processing speed on their on their cryptocurrency. So I think the future for Ethereum has been a lot around making their cost of transaction cheaper. We've all heard of the gas fees, and they've been working on how do they make that more sustainable. So I think that's the future for Ethereum, potentially bright. We'll have to see what ETH2 Serenity looks like in June, but one to keep an eye out on for everyone here.
Okay, and so question from Sylvester also on, is Bitcoin going to defeat the competition of the other coins or tokens?
Oh,
that's a tough one.
That's a direct highlight. Do you know what? If I had a crystal ball, Sylvester, I hopefully would have retired by now. But I don't. Look,
Ash can talk about the trends, but I'm not sure you have like the crystal ball.
I think Bitcoin will coexist with a lot of these cryptocurrencies. All these cryptocurrencies are offering different value for their ecosystem and their community, and they all have different values. Bitcoin's, it's a limited supply. It's the first. It's got mass adoption. It's here to stay. And I think one of the things that I wanted to kind of touch on earlier, which I shied a little bit away from, but happy to kind of touch on, is regulatory context. The more and more governments pick up cryptocurrency in form factors and regulate it in the right way, the more that the likes of the currencies like Bitcoin will coexist or become tender. So you look at El Salvador, right? And they've nationalized, Bitcoin as tender. You look at some of, the company Paxful in Africa, and peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading is helping with some of the inflated local currency fiat rates. There'll be use cases for Bitcoin. It's definitely got its place. Defeated is a hard word, Sylvester, but I'd say it would coexist with all of the other currencies, and it will have different pockets of value. And some of it will be driven by communities and consumers and businesses, and then some of it will be driven by the regulatory context. So one to keep a continuing eye on and look at those three factors as how that would compare to the rest of the currencies.
Okay. Another question that was sent privately. So basically the person is saying that it's interesting to see how the businesses are using crypto. And do you believe this is an area where like of growth and what talent skills will be the most sought after?
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, crypto and blockchain, and like Muna said, kind of educating yourself on all aspects of it, or specializing in aspects of it, whether it be the design and creation of the technology, whether it be the commercialization of it or whether it be the, go-to-market of it. I think, it will become more and more prevalent for every business. There will be a use case for it for every business. Right now, there's a payments use case, and that's why it's cryptocurrency is the form factor. And then it has multiple uses within, people wanting to actually buy goods and services with it, or people wanting to exchange services or value of services within marketplace environments, or the purchase of assets. So yeah, there's definitely, it's definitely going to get deeper within every business. And I think a lot of businesses will become more and more dedicated to this because it is quite nuanced and because it is quite early still. And because, everyone's trying to, I think, you look at the Financial Times, they've got, a crypto acceptance unit now. You've got businesses figuring out what part of their business will touch blockchain technology, that's cryptocurrency. And you'll definitely find that companies will be building out different skills that they need within that, whether they build or whether they need to provide a service to the market or whether they need to understand how they just even adopt it.
And linked to that, maybe a question for you, Muna, like, have you already seen maybe like a shift in the skills of any candidates? Do you see any trends we can say, in the experience and background of the candidates?
Yeah, no, I think it's the first most important thing to sort of mention is that I'd really like to debunk the myth that you need to have any technical experience to get into tech, specifically within tech industry. And there's also not one route into tech. So you don't have to become necessarily a software engineer or a DevOps engineer. Like, that's not specifically what you have to do. If you imagine tech being like any other industry, any other corporate company, it has every single function. So like commercial, it has finance, you have, audit, like absolutely everything you would have in any other kind of corporate company. So I think it's very important to find what your niche is, what you enjoy, and not try to sort of pigeon or like box yourself into kind of tech and like that technical element. And I think it's really important for people to just be kind of courageous and like go out there and actually just apply for these roles, because more often than not, you'll find that the softer skills are the things that we're looking for. So you just need to it just needs to really come across that you're very passionate and willing to learn the space. Because I think, most people can say before they came into tech, they didn't really understand the kind of the product that they're working with in like extreme depth. So I think as long as you're willing to learn in pretty much any company within tech, you'll have to learn the product in a bit more detail. So again, I emphasize that willing to learn and that passion.
Yeah. So somehow I believe you're also, answering to Idris' question on the basic skills, required to learn about the crypto and Bitcoins. I think you've replied to that also along. So maybe another question. I will take the one from Toby, and maybe one for you, Ash. How would you describe the Web3 tech stack, including layers to a child? So apparently the concepts are a bit confusing here.
Toby, you and me, my friend. As Bruno Jean-Marc mentioned, crypto is an ever-evolving skill. I'm continuing to learn. I mean, if you look at the Web3 tech stack, they talk about the 5 layers. There's the blockchains that are programmable, okay, and then I can only talk to the broader concepts. So the programmable blockchains, the nodes and the node providers within it, APIs, there's development platforms, and then there's decentralized applications. Now, each of those, again, then represent a different deconstruction and use case and how you build that and how that interfaces in Web3. I like to think of tokenization as one of the most exciting elements across those stacks, because we can build a user experience through that journey. I can have, for example, my ID caressed through a payments ecosystem within that place, and that's maybe where things like payments in the metaverse become a real life form factor, digitalized and straight through. But Toby, I'm still confused. I still think there's a lot of building out to be done in the Web3 place, but where we kind of hone in at Checkout at least is on that kind of tokenization of the payment instrument, whether it's a Visa card tokenized in the metaverse that's paying for shoes at the digital Nike store, that's a use case. That's kind of where we kind of see it fit in our world. But hopefully those 5 elements give you 5 areas to kind of deconstruct a bit more. I might have to come back to you on that and see how your research has gone as well. And
so quick one on the trading side, is it true, like is it true that the crypto trading can be done like 24 hours 7?
Yes, yeah, it definitely can. And that's kind of, Jean-Marc, is kind of facilitated by the exchanges. The exchanges are some of our clients that we support today. But and this is how I got into crypto, to be honest. I was back at Visa and I had no idea what it meant. I'd kind of heard of it at Citibank back in the day, and I downloaded an app called Crypto.com and I learned about the currencies. And yes, I was able to trade in real time. I was able to, fund a wallet with fiat currency, Australian dollars actually back in the day. I was able to, buy some cryptocurrency at that point of sale immediately at that time. So it wasn't a hold or a buy or a sell. It was like an immediate purchase. And I was able to hold it and then sell it at a certain point and have that placed onto my Visa Crypto.com card. And then I was able to buy myself a beer, Jean-Marc. So, it is real time. It is intra daily. It's on at all points.
Okay. Question for you, Muna, I believe. So it has been sent privately also. Talking about the Black community. So how long has the community been going? And what support is in place for Black employees? And the sub question is like, is it mainly UK based? On this one, I can say this is not only UK based. Like I'm based in France, part of the community, and we also do have other members across the globe here at Checkout. But on the on the timing of the community, can you walk us through that a little bit more, Muna?
Yeah, sure. I'll work backwards with the question. So I'll just quickly address the UK-based part. So that was also another priority for us when we created the new task force. So what we've done this time around is create regional leads. So we now have an APAC regional lead, a Europe regional lead, and a US regional lead. So just really expanding that sort of reach and making sure that it's not just UK-centric, because naturally that's where a lot of our Black colleagues sit at the moment. So yeah, we've definitely addressed that in this time around, and we'll definitely sort of emphasize on global outreach. And in terms of what support is in place for Black colleagues, I think it's a difficult one to answer, because I think the good thing about Checkout is that we make resources kind of available to everyone equally. So I don't want to say that there's anything specifically just for Black colleagues at the moment, but we do have things like mental health champions, for example, that is, for everyone in the company and a place for you to speak. And then we also have, separate channels where it is just for Black colleagues, just to be able to speak again safely. It's all about creating a safe space for everyone to speak. So definitely something we can look into, looking at support for specifically Black employees, not something that we've done specifically at the moment. But I do think there are resources available for kind of everyone to utilize within the company that are really good for multiple things. And how long the community has been going. So they were founded in 2020. So it's been about 2 years that the community has existed.
Another question for you, Ash. Let me, so it was from Sylvester. Asking a slightly different question. Do you see Bitcoin replacing the US dollar as the main currency comparator?
Sylvester's really got me. Sylvester's really got me digging into this crystal ball, Jean-Marc. It's a tough one. I don't see it replacing. I see it working side to side as one fiat indicator and one cryptocurrency indicator. And as we've all seen today, the US has released a paper on how the government's going to task force this. So I definitely think there'll be a coexist. I think of it like back in the day when people were using checks. This is going to share with everyone how old I am now, but checks as a form before debit cards, checks and cash, the battle of will debit cards completely replace it? I mean, if you look at the US today, still checks are written. Even in the UK, checks are still written. All of these are like elements of how we have as a civilization interacted with money as a value of purchase and existence. So I think as an indicator, it'll become something that will be side by side. And one thing that underpins that, I think, is when corporates are using or holding or storing digital assets as another form of treasury now, which we've seen done globally. Even governments are storing it as a value creation and storage of asset on their balance sheet. So, I think the roundabout answer is they'll probably coexist. They will be an indicator, but it'll be coexistence. I think that's where we'll land at, Jean-Marc.
And you were talking about regulation a little bit earlier, like how do you see the regulation evolving for the crypto companies? And do you believe that there is going to be like any regulation also for blockchain at some point?
Well, that's a very, very good questions again. Look, when it comes to regulation, I think we're at a very interesting point where adoption has created regulators to provide more of a focal point around protecting consumers and corporates and their constituents. So within their jurisdiction. So when you look at that as the context, I think what we'll find is there will be more and more engagement now than ever between all of, chains, nodes, APIs, companies that are in this ecosystem of cryptocurrency on the blockchain with regulators to form the right protection. I think that's where we've got to see most of the regulation come from. And I've seen a lot of appetite of regulators willing to sit down with the industry to understand it before they impose things. If you look at Biden's release today as well, a lot of it's around task forcing governments to come together. A lot of it's just around organization, right? Now it's mandated that this is something that's here. How do we properly look after it is where governments are at with it today. They're not even into the complete imposition pieces. There are bits where they will stamp out elements. So you look at, the way sanctions have been deployed. You look at how certain, how certain exchanges that have run away with money have been treated and prosecuted. You'll find regulation has helped enable a lot of that. So you'll find that what's happening is it's accumulation at the moment of regulators focused on protecting consumers and the ecosystem. And what we'll find is off the back of that, they're still in a developing phase, but they're now in an organized phase and an engagement phase. 8 years ago, we weren't in that at all. It was all speculative. It was people operating on their own accord, peer-to-peer. And with regulation, it takes time. So we're just at this phase now. What will come now is broader sets of rules. We know there are crypto asset licenses that companies have to have now and exchanges have to have. So we know that there is a layer one of regulation out there today. The next layers and how they protect consumers and it works with the fiat economy is something to keep an eye out on that will be formulated more and more.
And do you see any do you see already any alignment across the regulators, or maybe not for now?
Oh, at the risk of all regulators coming from my head, I think they're all operating at their own pace, dealing with their jurisdictional issues. But I do think they're taking guidance from certain leading regulators, like the way the FCA is handling things, the way the US are handling things. They're the two mature economy shining lights. But then there are also other regulators who are a little bit more forethought and a little bit faster in terms of adopting with the crypto industry. So am I seeing consistency, Jean-Marc? Yes. And then there's also still a bit of inconsistency with pace. So it's not that they're not all working together. They're all kind of fighting their more respective battles. But I think you'll find elements of uniformity within there, but a lot of them are operating at different paces, if that makes sense.
Okay, right. Thanks a lot for your answers. There has been some questions, about how people can apply to crypto jobs, or more broadly to other jobs. I believe maybe Muna, this could be like a good opportunity to give an update on how people, where they can find the job openings that we have, or on the BYP side also maybe.
Yeah, so I would always say to refer to our careers page. That's like the one source of truth for all of our open positions. So feel free to take a look at there and see what positions might align with your experience. But if there's not anything that you particularly fits for what you've been doing over the last few years, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to have like very informal introductory calls about what your skill set is, and then potentially put you in the direction of the right recruiter so they can bear you in mind, because we're always hiring. We'll most likely need that skill set at some point. It just might not be at that moment. So I definitely urge you to get in touch with relevant recruiters within your space. Introduce yourself. They'll always bear you in mind. And and likewise, you can also reach out to me. Always happy to have informal calls, and more specifically about getting into tech or fintech, if that's what you want to have a chat about. Also happy to do that. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Muna. Well, thanks a lot, Ash, Muna, for your time first, and for all your answer and your inputs on this topic. I may give back the floor to Lynn to close this webinar. Thanks a lot for your attendance to you all, and hopefully see you soon then.
Thank you so much, Jean-Marc, and thank you for everyone that's attended. We hope this has been really useful. I know for us it's really interesting and amazing to be able to see really just people from different backgrounds, and especially Black employees, but also Asian, that are working kind of in the crypto space and in fintech and payments. And it's something we don't often get to see. So it's a real pleasure for us. If you do have any other questions that we didn't have time to answer, then please do feel free to email. And we will be sending across links to the jobs board after the event, as well as a recording of this event and a survey. So we'd absolutely love to hear from you. And for those of you who have opted in to receive any further information from Checkout.com, we'll be sharing your details with them tomorrow. Thank you all, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.